Word Balloon is brought to you by Aw Yeah Comics, not only a great comic publisher featuring my buddies Art and Franco, but also 3 incredible stores in Harrison, New York, Skokie, Illinois, and Muncie, Indiana. Aw Yeah Comics has been part of Word Balloon's life for about a decade now, and I am so pleased to be affiliated with them and give you all their details. You should go to awyeahcomics.com. You'll find the 12 issues of Action Cat and Adventure Bug, but also you will find ways of shopping not only at the physical brick-and-mortar stores, but also check out their Facebook channel for on-sale online shopping and auctions that will feature some of your favorite books and great books from the Golden Age all the way up to the modern era. It's awyeahcomics.com. I hope you'll check them out. They're an incredible store. They're an incredible publisher. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's time again for another episode of Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Really happy to present this very funny hour that we spent with Donny Cates and his wife Meghan at Terrificon. You really get inside the head of Donny Cates in this conversation. What happened was, originally the plan was to have CB Cebulski interview Donny for the hour. CB had to cancel and wasn't able to make it to Terrificon, so as a consequence, it looked like there was going to be no moderator. Well, Mitch Halleck asked me to come in and moderate, but between them, Meghan and Donny decided that Meghan would, moderate, and they had this great plan, and they went to their social media followers and, conspired to create a great Q&A, and so I just kind of was there lifeguarding, and every now and then I would kind of interject, but I'm like, Meghan, drive, it's okay. And so it was very, very funny, and I was glad to be on the stage with them. And we talk about, of course, Venom. We talk about Thor. We talk about Donny's great collaborations with Ryan Stegman. It's very, very funny, and it's cool, and I think you'll enjoy it, and especially as we go into next week's dropping of the next Thor issue, because, man, that sounds great, where Thor, I guess, is going to be in Valhalla and have a new conversation with his father, Odin, of course, there in the Hall of Dead Heroes. So that's going to be exciting. But in the meantime, you can enjoy this live conversation, very live, with Donny Cates in the audience from Terrificon on today's Word Balloon. This episode of Word Balloon is also brought to you by Ken Jansen's latest projects, The Return, a new horror movie now available on demand, and Hindsight, the new time travel comic from Heavy Metal's Virus imprint. This portion of Word Balloon is brought to you by Aftershock Comics. Aftershock has some pretty cool stuff coming in the fall. First of all, in November, there's a really neat book coming up, and that's The Heathens. You're going to see a kind of great group of some of the most dangerous villains from history. People like Bumpy Johnson and Lucky Luciano and Sophia the Golden Hand and Billy the Kid, to name a few. This is going to be a great team-up book. It's Cullen Bunn and Heath Amadio, also illustrated by Sammy Kivella. Also coming up in September from Aftershock, we have 2 new series from some of my favorite writers and artists. Almost American from Ron Mars and Marco Costello. They Come From Russia with Love, and Secrets, a great new spy story, Almost American. And The Search for Who, co-written by John Tsue and Steve Orlando. John, I hope I'm saying your name right. Artist Rubin. A nice Asian crime story, Search for Who, coming in September from Aftershock Comics. Go to their website and find out more information about some of the great titles from Aftershock. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages of art, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex is a good friend. He's one of the preeminent comic book artists in the business. Beautiful paintings that are unlike anything else. I mean, paperback cover quality work. You know Alex's fantastic work on things like Marvel and DC, but also great film work on the Beatles and David Bowie and Monty Python and the Monkees. So much great stuff that is waiting for you in original art, lithographs, or prints if you go to the website alexrossart.com. Word Balloon is also brought to you by my patrons and at Patreon, the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your great support, backing me, and enjoying Word Balloon and showing it through your subscriptions from Patreon. Patreon.com/Word Balloon. If you can afford $1 a month or something along those lines, the support is greatly appreciated. Thank you, as always, League of Word Balloon listeners.
Okay, so.
Me too.
Did you already tell them we have things prepared?
No, they have things prepared, right?
Yeah, so when we originally CB Cebulski was going to be my moderator.
That's right.
And when CB didn't come, I made Meg my moderator, so we planned out a whole thing. We could definitely do, we could start this planned out. Basically,
You guys, by all means, lead,
No.
and I'll interject with questions.
yeah, if you want to, yeah. And then we just have like a thing that we're going to do, and then we'll open up the floor to you guys to ask things.
Great.
Let me start recording. So let's go. Okay.
Hi, Donny.
Hi, baby.
How are you?
So sultry.
That's good. The mic makes me sound sultry.
Okay.
Okay. So, when you and I met,
Yes.
you had just started writing Venom.
Mm-hmm.
This is before you popped off and got all famous and too big for your britches.
That's not true. I was already famous.
And now you just finished Venom.
Yeah, it's weird.
How does that feel?
It's really, really, really weird. You're right. The first time that you and I, like the first date we went on, the next day we were at a show at Meghan, and I walked with you. You walked with me to my table, and I got to my table, and there was like a huge line, and it was for Venom #1, and there was this huge line, and you were like, "Who are you? What the hell is this?"
I just thought you were a cute boy.
I know, and it turned out I got a cute boy writes Venom, and it's so weird now that we're done. And it's Venom's a character that I wanted to write since I was a little kid. It is the character that got me into comics. Todd McFarlane's a big hero of mine, which I'm sure is something we'll end up talking about at some point. It's weird. I have now written the most issues of that character ever in history. No one has ever written more of that character than me. On the pie chart of that character, it is mostly me, which is bizarre. Until someone beats me, and then I'll come back and I'll do like 5 more issues just to hold the title. It is weird. I tend to not have much of a rear view. And so when I wrote issue 200, it was the culmination of a plan that I've been doing for like 5 years that hadn't really changed. And Ryan Stegman and I already knew what we were going to be doing next, and we were already starting to work on that. And so I turned in my final issue, and I turned it in, and I mean, you were there. Mm-hmm. You were home with me that day.
You were very sad.
Not really. No. The sadness came later. The day I turned it in, I kind of turned it in, and I walked in, and I was like, "Hey, I turned it in.
Yeah.
I'm done." And you were like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm."
You weren't on there.
It's weird. There's always a bit of like postpartum on books that you've been working on for a long time, or not even a long time. Like I've done books that are like 6 issues long. That after it's over, I'll just be like in a funk and depressed for days. And I'm like, what is going on with me? Why am I so sad? I'm just like, oh, that's why you're not writing Silver Surfer anymore.
It's like a breakup, though, isn't it?
Yeah, a character leaves you. I mean, you have to you have to be inside this person's body for a while. This sentence is coming out awesome. You have to be inside this person's body for a while, and all of a sudden they're gone. And there's now a hole in you. Did that work?
No, that's great.
That's great.
Are there kids here?
Are there children? That's all.
There are children.
I normally start off panels by asking how many kids there are in the room.
We should have asked that.
But then someone told me that's creepy too. I was like, oh, that is creepy too. You need to like take a tally of the children.
This will be PG-13. I apologize.
So it really, it was. I wasn't sad at all because it's not like the run got like taken away from me. I told everything I wanted to do. I did everything I wanted to do. There is one thing I never got to do, and it bugs me, but it's just a stupid joke. It's a gag that I never pulled off, but I still might.
Well, when you come back to, have your revenge and keep your title, you can do it.
Maybe. There might be a plan in place for me to be able to do it. But the sadness was a whole thing, and I got through that because I was off the book, and I was, again, me and Ryan were on a new thing. But I didn't. People were like, "Aren't you proud?" And aren't you happy? Aren't you happy? And you know as well as I do, as well as my therapist knows, I don't really have a whole lot of use for pride. I don't know what to do with it.
You just get mad.
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how I'm supposed to be proud of something. I'm just gonna sit around and look at something and be proud of it. I'm just no, I just go to work on the next thing. I just move on and I go. I don't sit around patting myself on the back. And then on Twitter one day, someone put up one of those memes of how it started, how it's going, and it was Venom Lethal Protector number 1 and Venom 200 next to each other. And I saw that and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Oh man, wow. I was like, whoa. I was like, I bought that comic when I was a little kid. I bought that off the shelf, and that's the first one. I was like that was the only moment I allowed myself to be it's really fucking cool I did that.
Have you had a chance to talk to Todd about Venom in detail?
Yes. This is the extent of that conversation. When I first got him on that book, should I tell the story?
Yes.
He's not here.
Yes.
I just did him a favor. I just drew a cover for him. It's fine. When I first got Venom, I called Todd. Todd and I had become close just by virtue of me being at Image and having that God Country kind of redneck kind of blow up and everything. Todd always takes great interest in new up and coming talent and stuff. And so I called Todd and I told him, I was like, hey man, I'm doing this book, and I wanted to see if you would, give me your blessing on that book. And he goes, hey, bud, it's just it's like a thing I created 30 years ago. I don't care. It's fine. And I was like, all right, cool. Fair enough. That's the only conversation that we've ever had about.
How about Nicolini, the writer?
We worked together on Venom Annual number 1, but I've never met or talked to him.
Okay.
I would like to. I've met or talked to almost every single person who's worked on the character, or worked with them, including Mark Bagley, which is still one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, that I got to do that with Bagley. By the way, how cool is Bagley? I can brag all I want that like Venom number 1 and 200. I'm on 200. He has art in both. He drew all of number 1. He has a huge story, a huge part of that story. And that, come on, dude, that guy's such a badass. But yeah, no, I have not met David. No.
And I'm sorry, Megan, I was just curious in terms of, was Stegman in from number 1? Do you want this?
No, your minutes. I want your minutes.
Oh, please, absolutely. Seriously, that's why I opened it. Please, Megan, feel free. But, was Stegman, in from day one as far as, were you able to, convince him, or were there other artists that you were thinking about?
No, here's the thing. So did you want one?
No.
Ecstasy pills.
Oh,
Ecstasy pills.
That's French, Mark.
No.
Okay.
I actually didn't want Ryan. Ryan, that's not like a joke. It's true. He knows. Are you eating cotton candy? Where did you get cotton candy from? You don't know where you got cotton candy from? Did you just go like this at me, like you just came out of the sky?
We went 10 minutes before we derailed. This is a record.
Do not lie to me about cotton candy, young man.
You're holding out?
You're just looking at me. Where did you get cotton candy? Over there. Well, that narrows it down. All right, yeah, okay. Okay, well, I know it's not outside. Okay, that narrows it down. Give me your cotton candy. Not a big enough fan. All right. What was the question? Stegman. Marvel. I had already started writing the outline and everything like that, and then Marvel. I had put forward some names. He's just eating it flagrantly, so aggressively in front of me now.
Don't Look
Is
at
we
it.
have lost
I
Donny
can't look at
to
it.
the blue cotton candy.
Look
That's
over
it.
there.
Oh, no, it's ridiculous. All right, rude. Yes, I'll look right at you. Marvel gave me, or I gave them like a list of people that I really wanted, and then they were like, we really like Stegman for it, and I was like, I don't want Stegman on it because he had just done Venom Inc. And like his art is great. I love his art, but I didn't want anyone who had already done it.
Sure.
I wanted, like, because I was a fresh guy on it, I wanted to have a fresh guy on it.
Totally.
And they were like, just call him and talk to him. Like, do you know him? And I was like, not really. Like, we run in the same circles and stuff, but like, I don't really know him. And so they sent me his cell, and so I called him. And what was supposed to be like a 15-minute phone call was like 4 hours. And we instantly were on the same page. We talked through the entire run, all the way through King and like through Absolute Black. Absolute Black is a fucking good name for it. I should have used it. Shit, am I coming back to Venom? Through Absolute Carnage to King and Black, all the way to the ending of the series. We talked through everything, and became fast friends. And I called him back and I was like, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, absolutely. And then he came, right, Absolute Black. Yeah, that's good. And so, and then we started like going to shows together and stuff, and now, he's literally like my best friend on the planet. No, I babysit his children. They're not well. And really, it's not my fault. Not my fault what happened. No, because okay, I'm staying over at their house. And we're working on like this summit for shit.
That's a clue, Rich Johnson.
All right. It's not really a clue. You just say it out loud. Ryan's gonna kill me.
I'm glad it wasn't me spoiling.
We can bleep it if you want as far as podcasts go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please,
Don't worry.
All right, thank you. Okay. It's definitely not gonna leave this room. Yeah.
For sure.
Everybody's cool?
For sure.
All right, good deal.
Yeah. It'll be where
I'm
that
gonna check all your phones before you leave.
Yeah.
I'll have to sign NDAs.
Yeah. That guy was ran for it. Yeah. And so, what were we talking about? Yeah, so I was over there, and they had a scheduling conflict, him and Aaron's wife. And they were like, what are we going to do? Like, one of us has to cancel our thing. And they're like arguing back and forth, not arguing, but like trying to figure out what to do. And I'm right there, and I'm like, guys, hi. Like, I'll just watch The Boys. And they're like, that's hilarious, man. Anyway, so what are we going to do? And I'm like, guys, I can watch The Boys for 2 hours. I swear I can do this for 2 hours, please. And they kind of like look at each other and they're like, okay. Because like, look, Uncle Donny's a lot of things. Responsible is not one of them, and they know that. Ryan Stegman has often said, he knows a lot of things about me that you guys don't know, that this one knows too. Ryan's often said to me,
I wouldn't leave you with their children.
no.
Any child.
And we're about to have a child.
I know, it's a terrible idea.
I know.
Neither one of us is responsible enough to have it.
Ryan has often looked at me and said, like, knowing what I know about you, I have no idea how you get anything done. I have no idea how you're successful at all. Because like you're such a train wreck.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it either.
And no one really does. So anyway, they were like, okay, look, we're gonna go and do this stuff. It's 2 hours. Boys, be good. It's Oliver and Harrison are their names. Oliver is the older one. Harrison is the small one. And the main character of our new book's name is Oliver Harrison. And so they were like, just put the boys in front of the TV and like put The Simpsons on, and you'll be totally fine. And I was like, tight, awesome, I got this. Don't worry, you guys leave. I swear to God, Ryan leaves first, and then Aaron leaves 10 minutes after that, and Aaron's like, you got this? And I'm like, yes, of course, it's not a big deal. They're 8 and 10, it's fine. And she leaves. No sooner does our car leave the driveway than the TV hits error and the Wi-Fi is out.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And the boys look at me and they're like, the Wi-Fi's out. And I'm like, yeah, I know. What are you guys going to do about that? I don't live here. You guys live here. I don't even know where the thing is.
Go fix it.
Go fix it. I don't know. And they're like, we're just going to go down to the basement and play video games. And I was just like, yeah, okay. And then they go down there, and I hear, Donny! And I'm like, video games don't work with the internet off either, because all they play is online stuff. And they didn't realize that because they're idiots, and I didn't because I'm also an idiot. And so I run down there, and they're like, the video games don't work, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to do. And I don't know what to do here. And they're like, well, can we watch TV down here? And I was like, no, stupid. Like, no, nothing works. Nothing works. This is terrible. I'm miserable, and so are you. And I don't like this any more than you guys do. And then I'm calling Ryan. I texted Ryan, and the Wi-Fi is out, and he wrote back, if there's children, I have to say the whole phrase, I'm so sorry. Ryan Stegman in all caps wrote back, is this a fucking joke? And I was like, no, dude, it's not a joke. And he goes, in the 25 years I have lived in that house, the Wi-Fi has never been off. And I was like, what do you think my angle is here, man? Like, what do you think I'm trying to make my life hard? And so, like, me and the kids just, like, I'm trying to entertain them. They don't think I'm that entertaining. They're not big Venom fans. They don't seem to think that, like, anything that I was like, you guys have, like, a million toys and Nerf guns and stuff, and they, like, start crying because those don't, like, move or talk back to them or whatever. I don't have any Pokemans. I don't know what to do. And then Aaron Stegman, his wife, texts me and says, I'm coming home. Ryan told me what's happening, like, stay calm, I'm on my way. And I was like, thank you, please come home. And then I swear to God, as Aaron is coming up the driveway, the Wi-Fi comes back on. And the TV, and the boys go plop down in front of the TV with Simpsons on, which, by the way, is the opening of The Simpsons, where they come in and jump on the couch and the TV's there and everything's okay. And so they jump in and she comes in and she's just like, dude, you just have to like hit the button. The Wi-Fi wasn't out. And I was like, I will kill you. I swear to God, the Wi-Fi was out this whole time. I promise you. I was like, tell them. I was like, boys, tell them that the Wi-Fi was out. And they were like, we just couldn't get the video games to work. And I was like, oh my God. And so to this day, I always say, like, can you all just agree, though, that the boys were alive when you came home? They survived.
They did survive.
And nothing that happened was my fault.
That we know of.
I didn't get drunk. I didn't do anything.
That we know of.
That's his story.
Yeah.
That's the story. So anyway, I don't even know why we were talking about that.
I loved every moment of that. It was fantastic.
There you
That's
go.
why everyone's here. Talk about you.
You know why else everyone's here? Speaking of embarrassing stupid shit.
Should we do some stupid
Let's do it.
shit?
So something that we did when we were preparing for this panel was that we walked my line. Some of you may have participated in this. And we asked people both here and online to ask me a question, any question that they want, as long as it is not about comics, with the knowledge that no matter what it is, I have to answer it. Yeah. So I have no idea what these questions are.
Start lining up, everybody.
And that's why I started recording this. And this is going to be why you paid to get into this con. Because I have no idea what's about to happen. So whatever it is, I will answer it. Shall we begin?
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Who's your favorite person in NCR?
My favorite person in NCR, Jorway.
Okay. That's a basic answer.
Come on. Followed by me. Followed by Frank.
I don't know who any of these people are. I don't care. Which Loki variant are you?
Ooh, the sexy one.
What?
That's good. No, that's a good open answer. To interpretation, I understood what he said.
Okay.
The sexy one.
The sexy one.
If you're keeping score.
The alligator is what I'm talking about.
By the way, wasn't it awesome that
I haven't seen the last two episodes.
No. This isn't a spoiler. Wasn't it great that Richard Grant played older Loki?
Oh, dope.
And it's like that's 616 Loki.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that's
yeah.
We have to finish it.
No, it's cool.
Sorry.
All right.
We're bad nerds.
What do you got?
What was your favorite toy growing up?
Venom. in Spider-Man.
Nerd.
No, actually, and I also had a Star Trek transporter that you like slip.
Now you're talking.
Wait, I have
The
that.
spinning
You know
one?
what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
On it, and
Yes. Egos. Yeah.
And I also had the Batwing that had like the gun grip on it. That you
Nice.
could fly around with. That was tight.
Was it the Tim Burton one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh, favorite dinosaur.
There's only one right answer.
Stegosaurus.
Incorrect.
Stegman, the source.
That's why I said it.
Oh, no, that's wrong.
What's the
Pterodactyl.
Oh, a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Well, why? Because they're terrifying.
There we go.
Nice.
All right. If you had to be a piece of sushi, what kind of sushi would you be?
Jesus Christ.
This is funny because he hates sushi.
It's not food. It's not food.
It's my favorite food, and I'm never allowed to eat it.
It's an appetizer. It's what you eat before you eat food.
Incorrect. Who here loves sushi? This is the best. See?
Yeah, I know.
You are incorrect.
Well, I'm with you on that dinosaur.
All right.
Yes, sushi
I would
is
be
the best
what
food.
I would.
All right.
I would be whatever kind of sushi you all love.
That is not an answer. Just pick a sushi.
Food is cooked. Sorry. Go ahead. Go on.
Of your pets, who's your favorite?
Ooh, my pets. Oh, damn it. That's hard.
You know they're listening, so they're
Yeah,
really
that's
pissed.
it. We have a little blonde cat named Cordelia, which has people who wear only black. It's a pain in the ass. And then we have a little beagle named Bats, named after the dog that I killed at Doctor Strange. I guess if I had to answer, I would answer Cordelia only because she has seniority. She has seniority. She's been with me
I'm
longer.
going to stop asking when we get
She's
home.
been with me longer, and she predates you too.
Yes, that is true. I have a follow-up question. Why do you keep killing dogs in your comics?
I haven't done it in a really long time. I used to do it because it pissed people off, and it got articles written about books, and that shit sells books.
That is terrible.
Yeah. You know what's really funny? I was at New York. No, that's not really true. It's just in Doctor Strange, I did it because I had a cat that had just passed away right at the assignment, and so I wrote a whole book kind of about that, which is like why he's a vet at the beginning of that article. Anyway, I was at New York Comic Con, and it was a hall like 3 times as big as this, filled to the brim. It was like Marvel's big, huge panel, and this little kid, like right up front here, asked me, in Doctor Strange, why was Bats a basset hound? Why did you pick a basset hound? And I looked at this kid, and I said, well, because I researched online, and at the end of that story, when Doctor Strange offers Bats' body to the World Tree, I need a dog that was small enough to fit into a duffel bag. And this kid looked at me with like tears in his eyes. I don't think he knew that the dog had died, let alone that I picked it because its corpse would fit into a bag. And when we just kind of like moved on, and afterwards, C.B. Cebulski, who's supposed to be sitting right here, afterwards he was like, figure out a different answer to that question. What's the matter with you? I was like, that's the answer to the question. It was either a basset hound or a beagle, and I thought a basset hound would be funnier.
You're really driving home how we should not be responsible for children.
No, it's fine. I'll take care of a kid. I care about that. It'll be mine. I'll care about my kids. I don't care about other people.
You hear that, other kids in the room?
I care about his kids. He cares about his kids.
All
That's
on floor with Donny Cates.
What color is your underwear?
What color is my underwear?
Currently.
Black, currently, but oftentimes the answer is not applicable. That is nowhere.
You heard it here first, folks. What is your ultimate Halloween dream day?
I already had my ultimate Halloween dream day.
Aww.
I was in Italy and I married a girl.
What?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she walked down the aisle to a Sally song from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Because we're nerds.
In a beautiful white dress, and it was the best day of my life. It was Halloween. Yeah.
Aww. Except it was an Italian, so I think we're married.
Yeah, the mayor of this town married us, and and I don't know why it didn't dawn on me that he wasn't going to do it in English. As soon as the ceremony started, he started taking Italian, I was like, oh, word. Okay, all right. Whatever this dude says, I'm going to agree to, I guess.
Yeah, so, I mean, we might not.
You Catholic?
Oh, yeah, we're Catholic now.
Whoops. Today's episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by comic book and screenwriter Ken Jansen's. Ken's new feature film, The Return, is available on demand. The Return is the story of Roger Emmerich, a college student who travels to his hometown to settle the estate of his deceased father. While staying at his family home with two friends, Roger experiences bizarre and horrifying events which awaken the repressed memories of a terrifying childhood. The Return, starring Richard Harmon and Sarah Thompson from the CW's The 100, and directed by B.J. Vero, has won several awards on the festival circuit, including Best Feature at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival and Best Actor at the New York City Horror Film Festival. Ken is also the writer of Hindsight for Heavy Metal Magazine's comic book imprint, Virus Comics. Time likes its secrets, so much so that it will do anything to keep them. Too bad Vincent D'Angelo didn't know that before traveling into the past to uncover one of history's greatest mysteries. But he'll learn the hard way. Hindsight features the art of Matt Martin and colorist Federico Taibo. Please check out these works from Ken Jansen's and Google him for more of his comic book, film, and prose work.
Here. What's your favorite cheese?
What's my favorite cheese? I like a good mozzarella caprese. I like a good, I like a good,
That's a did you say mozzarella?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a good, like a fresh mozz, like a, not like...
Not a burrata?
I like a burrata. I like a provolone. I like a good provolone sandwich.
So just cheese?
With, yeah.
All cheese.
All right.
All cheese.
I don't know if any judge...
That's the correct answer. All cheese is the best cheese.
Okay.
Were you breastfed as a child?
Breastfed? Yeah, I was, but my mom drank the whole time.
Wow.
Can confirm.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
What happened for
Your
sure?
mom often calls me hammered at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, Rhonda.
Yeah. I was breastfed, but it was like a daiquiri machine. Like, it was like, yeah.
Explains so much. See, you guys didn't know that you were going to get such insight into the genius.
Yeah, that's what happened,
Yep. What's the best scene in The Crow?
The best scene in The Crow is this scene.
Here we go.
There's a moment where, so Eric Draven, when he wakes up, he is an absolute murder machine. As soon as he wakes up, he is driven and he is insane. But you see in flashbacks that he was this incredibly gentle, very not weak, but what's the word I'm not looking for?
I wasn't listening.
Unbelievable.
Not weak.
Marriage, guys, right? Am I right?
There's something. Eric Draven has this quality about him that you don't see in like action heroes, is that he's very gentle when he's with his girl, like in the flashbacks. Like he's very almost like submissive to her. Like when they're laying in the bed, like he's the small spoon and stuff like that. He's very like small around her, and he's very gentle. But then when he wakes up, he's this murder machine, and he's very alpha. And he's just going hard until he goes to the cop's apartment, and he talks to him. Even then, he's being like kind of a tough guy. He's like smoking a cigarette and all this stuff, and he's still being like the Crow the entire time. And then there's this one moment, and it's very small. It's gonna make me cry, and no one else thinks about this or says this moment is for me. It's like a me thing. He discovers that Albright, the cop, sat with Shelley the entire time that she was dying and everything. And when he comes out of it, for just a moment, he's Eric again. Like he's not the Crow. Like he's like soft and he's like weak again. Not weak, but like tender again. And he starts to leave. And Albright turns around and he goes, "You gonna do that thing where you just like turn into smoke and disappear through the wall?" And Eric turns to him and he goes, "I thought I'd just use your front door." And walks out the front door. Like that moment, that little moment of him turning and being like, I thought I'd just use your front door. It says so much. It's him like being reminded that he's a human being and that he's like that he is doing this for love. He's not gonna get lost in this murder and this mystical like monster that he's becoming, and that he's not, and that he's still human, and it's just so small and perfect. And so that is the best scene of The Crow. Very cool. All right.
We'll do one more and then we'll open it up to you guys. Because Brian, we have like 15 minutes.
How are we doing this thing?
Because I want you guys to be able to.
Yeah, we got like 15 minutes.
Okay. So last question from Twitter. First cartoon character you had the hots for?
Ooh, first cartoon character I had the hots for?
I think I know the answer to this.
What's the chick's name from Cool World?
Oh, Holly.
Yeah, that one.
I thought it was Bugs Bunny's girlfriend from Space Jam.
No, it's
Lola
Bugs
Bunny.
No, it's Bugs Bunny when Bugs Bunny dresses up like a chick.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, from the Chuck Jones.
That's an exact quote from all rats, but you not just say.
You're welcome. All right, should we open it up for questions from you guys?
Absolutely, and yeah, please come up to
So
the
if you guys want to
microphone.
hear more embarrassing things, we have lots more of those too.
Can I ask Thor questions while people are lining up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So tell me, really, the whole thing. Well, first of all, Donald Blake, bringing back Don and everything.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. I thought it was time for America to have a Donald that was a villain.
Now you're getting
I'm
it.
just gonna wait for the roll over everybody in the room. Okay. And I'm so glad that COVID came. I'm so glad COVID came. Is a word I just said. No, we got pushed back and delayed so much, and I'm glad to a certain degree because I'm glad on the publishing side of things at the very least, because that arc would have landed right during election, and like bringing Donald back and stuff would have been it would have been a problem because it has nothing. One of us doesn't have anything to do with the other one, but for my Twitter feed, it would have been a bad 6 months. Especially as a dude named Donnie already, it's already a problem. So the Donald Blake thing, I started looking. The Donald Blake idea came from very simply looking back over what Jason had done, because Jason has told. If at the end of Jason's run, if they had just said, "Hey, we're not doing Thor comics anymore," like that was it. That's the end of the story.
Yep.
Everyone would go, "Yeah, okay, yeah, that was the end. Yeah, that was the last story."
Like Frank Miller with Daredevil.
Close the door, lock it up, turn off the lights, right?
The
And
end.
so I started looking through his entire, oeuvre, and trying to find little like spots of daylight where he didn't like stuff in Thor's like pantheon that he didn't play with. And one of the things that Jason never touched was Blake. And I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, there's something interesting there. And so I started thinking about the golden bird and the serpent. Because I was reading a lot about Norse mythology at the time, and not Marvel Norse mythology, actual Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, the golden bird is Odin, and the serpent is the great serpent around the world tree, right?
Yep.
They're at constant war and everything, and I was like, yeah, but Odin's not the golden bird anymore, right? And so like there always must be an opposite to them. And so if the king of Asgard must always have a shadow, well then Thor already has a shadow. It's Blake, and then you start kind of dividing that up into its pieces, and then you start to stumble into the idea of, wait, have we ever explained where that cat goes? Like when he's not here, or like how that process really works, and everything. And then I started thinking about like just the simple idea of what if Blake found out that he was trapped down there and that he was awake that entire time and everything. And I was like, boy, you kind of add all that together, and that is a serial murderer. And I was like, boy, that's fun. Let's do that. Let's do that for sure. And then I've been building this idea that Loki's gonna give up the title of God of Lies for a very long time. If you go back to my Doctor Strange run,
Yes.
Loki's talking about it there. It's because I had this idea of this Donald Blake story even back then. And so, but here's the thing that I don't think people have really realized is that Donald Blake is trapped on the Rock of Eternity with an asp spitting venom into his eyes for eternity, and he's now the new god of lies. That doesn't mean that just with the strike of a hammer that he could be released, though, right? So I wouldn't give up on old Blake just yet.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Yeah. Seriously, man, as you said, Jason's run could have ended. And truly, in the tradition of a lot of great writers that follow great runs, and Harry stuck with, well, now what do I do? Congratulations, because seriously, I mean it, man, because I'm a big Thor fan, and it's like, okay, let's see what Donny does, and I'm like, this is excellent. And truly,
I'm a huge Thor fan. That's what I have Thor's rune on my thing right there, which everyone thinks that there's a whole joke online that Thor's new costume is just D across him, that I just put my name across his chest. And I was like, kind of tight. I was like, no, it's his rune stone, man. It's awesome. Which is also something else that I thought of. It's like Thor's symbol has always been his hammer. Yeah, you have Spider-Man's symbol, and you have everything like that, and his has always been his hammer. And he has those 4 circles. But I was like, dude, he has a Superman symbol. It's been there since Nordic times. Like Thor has a symbol, and it's fucking awesome. It's cool. He should wear his symbol on his chest. That's so hopefully that lasts. It won't. I mean, for sure. It's not gonna last at all. But I'm gonna change his costume up here in a little bit. It's gonna be really funny. Really looking forward to it. I hope he has chains.
That's cool. Sir, please, if you don't mind, just because we're recording, we want to be able to hear you on the microphone for the purpose of our podcast. Is this your own podcast or the thing you do with Ryan?
Our podcast.
Excuse me, Meghan, because I didn't realize you guys... How long have you been doing your podcast?
Oh, God. We started it during COVID.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's called the Devil's Advocates podcast. We do... book club, sorry. As a big 2 guy, and she's an indie chick, we take turns making each other review an indie book or a Marvel.
Great.
So yeah.
It just makes you read comics.
Yeah, it's just an excuse to force each other to read.
I think that's awesome.
Hear inappropriate stories that we
Lots of inappropriate stories.
So, there you go.
So, great shirt, sir, first of all.
So I want to first thank you for an amazing run on Venom.
Thanks, dude.
And I wanted to know if you could tell me a story about how you wove personal addiction into a comic run or a story.
Yeah, sure, man.
Where to start?
Yeah, well, I mean, Venom, I've kind of always thought that Venom works really, really, really well as a metaphor for addiction. As somebody who is clean now, but has not always been that. And has struggled with that for the majority of my life. That's something that's, the idea of wanting to do good and the idea of wanting to be a good person, but having this kind of dark thing that lives on top of you that you think you can't live without, kind of making you fall off of your path. Those 2 things work really well together, Eddie and his symbiotes, I feel like in my run, I've had them kind of take a long, hard road to getting to a point of being okay and figuring out how to be together in a way that wasn't abusive, that wasn't codependent, that wasn't harmful to either of them, and that's something that you hear addicts and alcoholics talk about all the time. People will say "Oh, you used to be an addict," and I'll say, "No, I am an addict. I used to do drugs." That's just how that works, And with Eddie and his symbiote, they're never not gonna be together. They're always going to be one, so you have to figure out how to deal with that, and you have to figure out how to deal with your demon and live with your demon in a way that is healthy for both of you. And for instance, for me, as someone who used to have those problems and stuff, you steer that stuff, those same sort of like struggles and those same sort of that engine that used to push me towards dark stuff. It pushes me towards like working on books and everything. So I figured out a way to use it in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Well, Eddie figured out a way to use it to push back the darkness and save the entire world and become a god with a giant battle axe. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your questions or not.
One more question.
Sure.
Do you feel like you have any more stories to tell for Venom, or do you feel like maybe that's, you've told what you wanted to say?
You really messed up, because how cool would it have been if after what I just told you, if you were like, one more thing, would you like some drugs? Do I think that I'm done?
Do you think you have more stories to tell, or do you feel like you've come to your conclusion of?
I have one story left. And I don't know when I'm going to tell it, but it's one. Do you ever met Neil Gaiman, who I'm just like? No. When Neil did Sandman and then he came back for Sandman, was it Requiem?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, right. When Neil came back for Sandman Requiem, he was like, the only reason I'm doing this is because there was one story that was never told in my entire run. He was like, when Morpheus is captured in the first issue, he's wearing his helmet of war, and I never told you the reason why. Like, why was he wearing that? And so, like, when I heard that, I was like, holy shit! I've read that story a million times. I've never even noticed that. Yeah, why was he? If I were to ever tell you what my story is, the last story that I want to tell, it's that story. It's the I never told you this thing, and it'll be that. So
Cool.
we'll see.
That's awesome.
All right, just one more last.
All right, because there's a guy behind you.
You had three last things.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know how the King of Black, Null and Dylan came into your stories. Did you create them, or were they already like in your play box? Or?
No, I created them.
Did you?
Yeah. Null was created in issue 3, 4, something like that, and Dylan's in issue 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Null, because I wanted. There's a lot of reasons why, and they're for two different reasons that are the same thing. I firmly believe that Venom is a character that should exist beyond Spider-Man and outside of Spider-Man in a way that Wolverine, we don't think of him as a Hulk bad guy, even though that's where he started.
Yep.
We don't think of Sabretooth as an Iron Fist bad guy. We don't think of the Punisher as a Spider-Man bad guy. I think that Venom should be able to stand on his own, right? Well, what he needs for that is he needs supporting players. He needs things to fight for. And he needs his own pantheon, his own little corner of the Marvel U that is uniquely his own, right? And he didn't have any of that. Like, Peter has things to go home to. Like, Peter has things to fight for and to lose, right? And to really ultimately turn a character all the way around into his or her, his own man or, her own, woman. They need things around them. They need, essentially things to love. Good guy or bad guy, like even Thanos does things for love. Like every Thanos story is a love story, right? And so Venom didn't have any of that. Like, they had each other, but that's not enough, right? So they both needed something. So, like, because Venom is two beings, they both needed something. So Eddie needed a kid to worry about and care about and to develop him and make him grow up and like let go of this stupid crap that happened to him 20 years ago, and finally like flesh him out. And the symbiote needed something that was more. Everything that the symbiote had created had been below it. Like, it was a subclass, so like Carnage and Phage and everything were a subclass. It was underneath it, right? And so it needed an apex predator. It needed something above it, something to like fight against, not something that it would fight like at. Does that make sense? And so, it stands to reason that, if they're a species, a sentient species, that they would have a pantheon, since every other thing in Marvel does too. Hence, no. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Eddie, you sound so smart.
I'm just making shit up.
We'll try to get everybody in before, because we're close to wrapping, but I feel bad that people are in line, so please.
No, we'll get it all. Yeah, I'll talk last time.
No worries, man. They want to hear you. Go ahead.
Since we mentioned the fantastic Devil Advocates book club podcast, I was just wondering if you guys could, the two of you could tell us, what is the whitest way to die?
That's the thing that we do on podcasts is sometimes people will, like for instance, you guys read Why the Last Man? Why the Last Man?
Oh, sure.
Right? I think we were talking about how Yorick cracked his head open falling out of the side of a train. And we were like, that's a white way to die.
Hilarious.
What was that?
You said that he could drown skydiving.
Yeah, I was like, Yorick is so inept, he could drown skydiving.
White ways to die is like choking on brie if you're
First world deaths, basically.
Yeah, or like getting
crashing in a private jet plane.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
On your way to Aspen. What do white people do?
Or you did go to complete.
Falling off your yacht because you're drunk on too much prosecco.
That's a
You
nasty.
should do a book, right?
You go the
We were talking about this.
Absolutely.
But see, here's the thing though, you could go the complete opposite way with it. Hi, Jim Starlin. Hi, Donnie. Hi, we know each other. I'm a big fan here. I'll wind up. I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
That's a couple, if you don't mind, sir.
Complete opposite way, though,
Thank
right?
you. And seriously, if everybody doesn't get to Donnie, I'm
Of like meth labs and like huffing
Oh,
paint
yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that too.
Oh,
Like
sure.
those are super white ways to die too.
Yeah. Meth overdose. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a white way to die.
Hi, did I just talk in the mic?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Grant Morrison, and
Sure.
if there's
Why?
one thing, I really love drugs. No, if there's one thing I know about their work, it's this idea of creative expression, kind of taking ideas and just doing what you want, not having any fear about that. And that's something that I've noticed a lot in your work. It's this idea of pursuing something and not really feeling any, kind of reservation about it. Like something like Absolute Carnage or King in Black, they're totally expressive, have no reserves. It feels like it just comes entirely from your mind. And I guess my question is that something that you're passionate about pursuing in comics, or is that, something that you just really want to share with everyone else?
I don't ever get afraid to do anything in comics, especially in Marvel. I tend to think that those characters have been around for so long that like if someone was going to break them, they would have broken long before me. And so like let's push some stuff around and have some fun, That being said, it's really hard to answer that question with Jim Starlin in the back of the room. But yeah, I mean, because Jim, I grew up reading all of Jim's stuff as a kid, and so like if you read my work in Thanos Wins or like in like all of my cosmic stuff and everything like that, that's stuff that I grew up on, and all of stuff that Jim did was a whole bunch of like I don't give a shit, like let's throw planets at each other and like let's not be afraid of doing stuff that we can only do in comics and creating the wildest stuff that you literally can't do in any other art form, and so yeah, I mean that's something that I've tried to do in all my independent work as well. I also really enjoyed. I wrote one last night. It's so weird. I wrote an issue of something last night of an independent book that I'm doing, and it's like all talking. It's just like all people sitting around talking, and it bugged me for a really long time. And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh, that's right, because Marvel has trained me to always try and find the fighting.
Right.
To like always find like the punchy smash. And I was like, I don't always have to do that.
No.
Like I can just do if I want to, like because there's a difference between like violence on a page and like emotional violence on a page, right? And like I love writing stuff like that too. So I don't know. I think to answer your I think I just really enjoy writing stuff that is emotionally true and resonant. I think the only way that you can you can really mess up art is by making it boring. If it makes you happy or excited, or if it pisses you off, it's done a good job. The death of art is a yawn, I think, and so I just try not to be boring. Does that work?
That'll do.
Cool, good question.
No one has ever accused you of being boring. You've been called a lot of things.
They call it a lot.
A lot, but not boring.
So I am kind of new into comics, and you're writing some of the first stuff that I stumbled into, and it kind of ruined it for me because now I just assume I compare everybody's work to yours. You have some of the most exciting stuff that I've run into. I read this
Oh, thanks, man.
the omnibus, and I'm like obsessed with it. I read it more than once.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but I'm really interested in your process. I work with some Olympians. That's just a whole other thing. And I like to ask them, like, what's your day-to-day like?
Right.
And it's a lot of strict routines, but you're very creative. And you got and obviously there must be some discipline. So I'm very curious, what's your day-to-day like?
My day-to-day is a lot of taking days off and not enjoying those days off because I'm not working, and then doing other days where I try and work but don't do any work at all because I'm frustrated and I can't think of anything. And then turning around and distracting myself and cleaning the entire house and not doing any work, but also trying to think of stuff, and then getting 1,000 emails from my editor, and then having a panic attack, and then having a sleepless night where I think of every single idea for every single page of the entire issue, put it in my notes section of my phone, wake up the next day, copy and paste it all out of there, smash it into a document, and spend like 18 hours at a coffee shop, banging out an entire script in a single day, wash, rinse, and repeat. Sometimes I am lucky enough to have very long outlines, but those always run out, those always change, things they always change. The best thing that I have is like really good friends and a really good partner that I can just talk at and just be like, hey, I need to just like talk. I just need you to get a brick wall and just like I need to just like get this out of my face, and like figure this out, and then I can have a roadmap and then I can go. But it's not, I hate that saying every inch of my being, that whole like good writers write and like you should be writing every day, and it's just like horseshit. Take care of yourself and like make sure that your mental health is okay. Like don't kill yourself over this stuff. Write when you can, write when you're inspired, and write as hard and as much as you are capable of without hurting yourself. Because I have definitely done the opposite of all of that. And these days, there are absolutely days where I write like eight monthly books, and so there's just days where I sit down and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not gonna have a panic attack about this. It's just gonna be late by a day, and the whole world's gonna keep spinning. Sure. And that's gonna be okay. And the next day I'll get up and I'll bang it out and it'll be done and it'll be good, But yeah, it's not about it. But the thing is also writing every day doesn't mean like being on your computer with your fingers on like a laptop. Writing can be like walking around, like putting it in your head, which is what most of mine is, putting it in your phone. The amount of time that my fingers are actually on a laptop, maybe once a week. And it's like the rest of it is just me like taking walks or like doing stuff and figuring it all out. And then once it's all compiled, I'll sit down and just like a marathon and just get it all done. So it's a lot of that.
Thank you. And I think you said that you're expecting a child. So
we're not. We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah.
A lot of writers have said that same thing, Donnie, that it's the downtime to let your mind relax.
Yeah.
And then the ideas.
That's the thing, though. But then you take it. You're like, I'm just gonna take a day to relax and like not engage in this, and then you spend your entire day relaxing, being stressed out that you're not working.
Yeah.
And so you just never. And so you just do that until you die. Just do all that till you're done.
But I know Bendis takes bike rides, and that's when his ideas come to him.
Yeah.
Mike Nichols always talked about downtime, and that's
walks are undefeated.
I'm a swimmer, so my ideas come when I swim. So there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, Jim, you ready?
There you go. No, everybody, seriously, great conversation, wonderful questions. There you go. All right. That was great, guys. Seriously, good stuff. And I'm so sorry because it looks like you got to do Donny Cates. I'm like, okay. So I'm glad I hope I got out of the way.
No, you're fine.
No, you were asking real questions, like that people probably wanted to hear.
No, it's a good combination.
Now you guys
I
know
like
that
stuff.
the best dinosaur is a pterodactyl. You're welcome.
There you go.
Pterodactyl.
There you go, Donny Cates. Also dropping today, I had a great talk last night with Rob Salkowitz about everything that's going on right now in comics. Substack, NFTs, the changes in the comic market, the exclusives drying up at DC and Marvel, and a bunch of creators planning to leave the big two to forge ahead on their own, plus a review of some of the big moves and shaking things that have happened during this COVID time. Rob is a great analyst for Forbes.com and ICV2, Milton Greep's wonderful news blog, and we get a great look at what's happening in nerd culture right now with Rob Salkowitz. That is dropping also today on Word Balloon, so make sure you look for that episode, and it's going to be a great weekend. We're going to bring back the Kinescope conversation I had last night for the Honeymooners, and also later tonight, Word Balloon Live, we look at another episode of Trek Watch, and it's a new episode of Lower Decks that dropped on Thursday. We'll also talk about the What If episode featuring Black Panther as Star-Lord, and the last great performance of Chadwick Boseman. It was great. Lower Decks, not so great. This episode of Word Balloon is also brought to you by Ken Jansen's latest projects, The Return, a new horror movie now available on demand, and Hindsight, the new time travel comic from Heavy Metal's Virus imprint. This portion of Word Balloon is brought to you by Aftershock Comics. Aftershock has some pretty cool stuff coming in the fall. First of all, in November, there's a really neat book coming up, and that's The Heathens. You're going to see a kind of great group of some of the most dangerous villains from history. People like Bumpy Johnson and Lucky Luciano and Sophia the Golden Hand and Billy the Kid, to name a few. This is going to be a great team-up book. It's Cullen Bunn and Heath Amadeo, also illustrated by Sammy Kivella. Also coming up in September from Aftershock, we have two new series from some of my favorite writers and artists. Almost American from Ron Mars and Marco Costello. They Come From Russia with Love and Secrets, a great new spy story, Almost American. And The Search for Who, co-written by John Tsue and Steve Orlando. John, I hope I'm saying your name right. Artist Rubin. A nice Asian crime story, Search for Who, coming in September from Aftershock Comics. Go to their website and find out more information about some of the great titles from Aftershock. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages of art, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex is a good friend. He's one of the preeminent comic book artists in the business. Beautiful paintings that are unlike anything else. I mean, paperback cover quality work. You know Alex's fantastic work on things like Marvel and DC, but also great film work on the Beatles and David Bowie and Monty Python and the Monkees. So much great stuff that is waiting for you in original art, lithographs, or prints if you go to the website alexrossart.com. Word Balloon is also brought to you by my patrons and at Patreon, the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your great support, backing me, and enjoying Word Balloon and showing it through your subscriptions from Patreon. Patreon.com/wordballoon. If you can afford $1 a month or something along those lines, the support is greatly appreciated. Thank you, as always, League of Word Balloon listeners. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2021. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.